Well, hello, this is Peter Combs from Bidamount.com and P.O. Combs Asian Art in Gloucester, Massachusetts. And today is May 18th, 2018, and this is our weekly look back at last week's eBay auction results. And a couple other things. We did a video today on the upcoming sales, well, there's several sales at Sotheby's, Christie's, and Bonhams over in Hong Kong. For the end of this month. There's some great things, and we covered some of the highlights of the sale and talked a bit about the somewhat disappointing auction results in London this week, I think largely due to overestimating, but we're going to do a sort of an autopsy on those auctions and next week once we get all the data together. But at any rate, here we are, and last week's listings were pretty good. There were some nice things up, and we're going to jump right into them. The first one is this very nice big late Kangxi period charger that our friend Hans, well, his name is Freak, but Hans 3942 or whatever his eBay handle is, had up. Nice dish, 32 centimeters in diameter, beautiful colors, and it did fine. It brought $1,275. All right, he gets good things over there. He's got a good eye, and we keep a close eye on him. All right, and the next vase that was up was this. One of these cafe ground crackled vase with underglazed blue. This was a nice little vase, rather attractive. Here's the bottom of it, pretty typical of late 19th century vases, but well done. And it brought $702. It was roughly around 10 or 11 inches tall, and Grand Pip had that. He's a good seller over in the UK. A nice looking piece of porcelain. Kind of like those. I've always liked those. And then we had this pair of Republican dishes, a matched pair, nicely done. And on the back they have the infamous apocryphal Yongchen mark, but these look like Republican plates to me. Good quality decoration though, all the way around. Nicely done, and they did pretty well. They brought $1,009. Pud had those out in Ohio. They're very pretty. He gets good things. I don't know. He always gets things. It's amazing how often he has auctions. And then we're on to hair pieces. Hair pieces and early Chinese hair pieces are growing rapidly in demand. The prices keep going up and up on these. There's a gal actually online who has the hairpiece or headpiece museum. It's an online museum, and she collects these things. We sold her something years ago for. It was a full headdress. She has nice things, but this was a beautiful one, inset with semi-precious stones and quartz and whatnot. You see the quartz peach over here, and if you see these is a hairpin. If you see it in shops, grab these because they typically sell them for very little money. This one sold for $3,250. All right, and Pud also. This is also Pud. He also had this one. Really even a more elaborate one with beads and coral and all kinds of stuff on it. And this one did even better. It brought $4,650. So when you're out looking around and you're going in and out of shops, always check the jewelry case because they could very easily have one of these in there for $50, $100, or $200. If you see one, buy it. Okay, if it's an old one. All right. And this was one of the bargains of the week. I was kind of surprised at this. I put this in the newsletter. This is a nice, probably late 18th or early 19th century crackle glazed celadon. The photographs are terrible. I've said this before. If you're shooting objects to put on eBay, don't put the camera up so close that it distorts the shape of the piece this much. There's no reason to. Use the zoom on it a little bit. Get back so the prospective buyers can see what it looks like. It was in wonderful shape. Here's the foot rim on it. All right, I think it had a little tiny chip right here that had been fixed, but nothing disastrous. This is an early vase. It went for $86.50. Okay, that was a bargain. Okay, that was a good buy. That was a really good buy for someone. Okay, if it was photographed properly and done the way it should have been done, it probably would have brought $500 to $700. So somebody got a fabulous buy on that. All right, and on to this tea caddies. We've seen a lot of tea caddies lately. I don't know why, but they seem to be turning up. This is a nice little China trade tea caddy, very well done. Had all of its internal pieces. Here's the top of it. It does have a bit of wear to it, but a nice example all the way around. Minor nicks on the corners and whatnot, and it went pretty reasonably. It went for $415. Okay. So these are turning up, I think, more and more as the states are getting cleared out, especially here in the U.S. and where people collected China trade stuff. All right. And then there was this rather pretty little enamel cup with a dragon. This is overglazed blue, which is kind of interesting on this. And I think it had a Dao Guan mark or something. To me, it looks like a later 19th century cup, but I thought it was good quality. Nice and interesting. You don't see overglazed blue enamel only pieces very often. And it went for $518, so I guess a few people liked it quite a lot. A nice little cup, though. And then there was this footed, Tongxi era, figural, or lozenge-shaped dish. You've seen these before. This was a particularly good one, though. The decoration on it, the figures, was really well done with the immortals and so forth all the way around it. And you see here, really good quality decoration. Here is somebody presenting a lozenge on a tray, this kind of thing with Fu lions. And people on eBay really like this. It brought $1,557. All right, but that's a good one. That's much better than the average one that you're likely to encounter out there. And then there was this hot food pot. I like this. I like hot food pots because you can use them. If you have things like this, use them. Put food in them. Serve with them. Enjoy it. All right, this was a really pretty one. Again, Tongxi, mid-late 19th century, but pretty well decorated, I thought. And the lid was in overall very good shape. Often they're cracked or broken, have damage. There was no star crack in the bottom, which is also common on these. There's the original twisted wire handles on the ends. Often they twist them like ropes. And it did pretty well. It brought $651. And on to this. This was that Femiver, double Kieran or double Fu Lion plaque that was put in a frame. To my eye, it's a 19th century piece. I think it is probably 19th century. But nice quality, very nice quality, and very appealing visually. And it did pretty well. It brought $1,664. All right. But the frame was probably later, I suspect. They usually are. And then there was this tray. This is, again, a China trade thing. A China trade lacquer tray, probably made about 1830. And these nowadays can be bought quite reasonably. This one went very reasonably. These are big. They're very handsome. You can hang them on a wall. And they're, a lot of work. You think about the work that went into make this thing. And but they're part of the China trade era. And China trade stuff softened up a lot, as you all know, about 10, 15 years ago. So very reasonable. $404 for this. And this is a big tray. It's 69 centimeters by 53 centimeters. So it's over 2 feet long. All right. Nice. That was a nice buy for someone. Very attractive. And the armorial bowl. This went through the cracks, I think. This was a good little armorial porcelain bowl. Unfortunately, the guy that takes the pictures for this seller, he over sharpens his images in Photoshop or something because they come out way too bright and crisp. You should soften it up a little bit. But it went quite reasonably. It's probably late Yongchen period, as he says here. It went for $168, which is very reasonable for armorial pieces. All right. And then there's this little Lao or Jin cream glazed lotus or foliate rim bowl. Nice little pot. This thing did pretty well. There's the bottom of it, pretty typical foot rim on it that you see on these. Nice looking glaze with the fish on the interior. And it went for $2,124. This was a seller named Thomas Fine Art. They suddenly have sort of popped on, and they've been watching them because they've been getting pretty nice things. And he had some other things. He had a nice celadon on here that would have been worth a lot, but it had a blemish on one side from the firing where it got stuck to something, unfortunately. But it was a good early celadon, probably Ming. And then you have this, very typical 1840s or 50s Famille Rose, Mandarin ladies scene, interior scene, with a couple of men standing around in a nice floral and butterfly rim. And this was pretty much a bargain. It went for $100, 8-inch plate. All right, very reasonable. If you collect rose mandarin, watch out for these singles. This was sold by a seller in California. Shipping was cheap too. I was surprised how inexpensive the shipping was. $10. Shipping from here to there always seems much higher when we send things. Anyway, And then there was this. This was a rather nice Guangzhou period Phoenix and Dragon dish. You see a lot of copies of these. These were made in pretty big numbers in the 1920s as copies, but this looked like a real one to me. This is the bottom of it. For the life of me, I don't know why they photograph it with the mark on an angle. Usually they get them upside down if they're not sure, but this was a pretty nice plate, and a lot of people liked it, and it went for $1,674. All right, but be careful on these because they did make copies. They made entire sets, dinner services in this pattern later, and the mark is usually in red and badly done, and the foot is different, and the decoration's not as good. All right, and then there was this very nicely shaped Yongzhen early Qinlong mug with a slightly flared foot, but nice enamels, overglazed blue, and very nice Famille Rose enamels on it, and some gilding. You notice the gilding on here is still in good shape, which is surprising on these mugs because usually it gets washed off, long since washed off. There's the bottom of it, and it went for a fairly reasonable price. I didn't think this was an overpayment for this at all. It went for $537. Wasn't cheap, but it wasn't the world either. So that was a pretty good buy. And this was a nice thing. This was a little Tibetan traveling shrine box, and as you can see, the interior has this nice figure on it. There's an inscription on it, and these are tricky to date, but this one looked all right to me. The way it's pinned together, and the way the piece has an old crack up here, and there's the bottom of it. That looks pretty good, and good looking, legitimate wear and tear on the hinges and so forth. And it did quite well. It brought $5,220, all right, from Antiques Copenhagen over in Denmark. All right. And then there was this tile. Let's blow this up here. Hold on a second. I thought I had this ready to go. There we go. Nice Famille Rose tile with apple blossoms growing up out of the tree, and a good-looking stand. Nice coloring, good coloring. Early 20th century, but very good quality, I think. Nice-looking stand. Very expensive stand, actually. This is expensive work through here. And there's an end of it, all right? And the stand was probably very likely made out of older pieces and put into it when they built the stand for the frame. But the porcelain was top quality. And it went for $1,009, which was a fairly reasonable purchase. And then on to this, the 18th century Famille Rose jar with the women over the scholars' table. They look like they're preparing flowers and children running around, having a good time. But nice quality decoration. This lovely turquoise blue enamel. I really like this. Looks like she's scolding the poor kid for some reason. Anyway, it did very well. It brought $3,755. Okay. Nice early, mid-19th century, 18th century jar. Quite attractive. All right. And then there was this little brush washer, water pot, square with nice scenes on it. I remember there was one in particular I liked. Was it the fisherman? Somebody going fishing on here. There he is. And I liked this quite a lot. I thought this was a cute thing. And it has the little seed marks, spur marks on the bottom, so they glazed it. And it ended up going for $393 with 42 bids. Boy, they chased that thing up. And then on to another early to mid-19th century vase with figures and flowers and precious objects and whatnot. But this was an attractive vase. And I believe this guy had sold this before, some months ago. And more than likely, whoever bought it just didn't pay his bill. As we all know, that happens on eBay. And he put it back up, and it did pretty well. It brought $860. Now, hopefully this time the guy pays his bill. And now on to things that are closing. All right. I'm way behind today on my work here because I was doing other things. And am I going too fast? At any rate, this is some of the things that are coming up that are closing this weekend. And you have this very nice sort of transitional period reticulated bowl. We have this featured in the newsletter because it's a very nice one, and it's pretty similar to a couple of them that are being sold over in London or did sell over there this week. So you can go over and check out and see what those brought if it needed the help calculating. But here it is. nice reticulation through the porcelain, and it's up to $1,125, and I suspect it'll go up a bit more. $1,125 is a pretty reasonable price for that. Probably go up to $1,800 or $2,200, somewhere in there, maybe more. You never know. And this is a Chinese export grisaille dish with puce cartouches framed in gilt, running around the outside. It's a nice one. It has a nick and an associated hairline, but this is a pretty rare type of export plate. And the decoration on it, it's funny. Despite the little nick on the rim and the slight hairline, which can be stabilized, the grisaille decoration's in very good shape. And grisaille, as you know, if you've owned any of it, you know how finely worked it is. And this is pretty nice looking example. And what else is coming up here? Oh yeah, these lime green planters. We came across these last week. We were putting the letter together at the very end, and these are pretty nice. It has a couple of nicks on the corners and whatnot, but that's a nice late 19th, maybe early 20th century pair. But beautiful, really striking color. And here you have the double fish motifs and other Buddhist symbols on it. The vase wrapped in a ribbon and all that. And they're only up to $305. So maybe somebody might want to run by and give that a whack. This is something. This is like the biggest silk of the month right here. A great big table cover or altar cover with dragons and roundels and everything else. This is a monster. All right. This should bring $4,000 or $5,000, $6,000 anyway. It's quite a big piece of silk. How long is this? It is 134 inches long and 28 inches wide. Has 17 dragons, 12 roundels, and 5 horizontal dragons. There you go. It's quite a thing. It's up to $1,252. Closes on Monday. All right. And then there's this Vajra. It's sort of a nice one, a nice spiked one with the triple heads on the top, and it's still inlaid with its stones. And this right now is at a very low price. I'm kind of surprised, $64.82. I expect that to jump at the end. As I say often, I said, if you see something you like, put it on a watch list and then bid on it. Leave a quick bid on it so you don't miss it. I know that a lot of people come back to the newsletter toward the latter part of the week to see if they forgot something, because it's easy to forget. You get it on Friday or Saturday, you look at it Sunday, and then there's something coming up late in the week, Thursday, Friday, you forget about it, and you don't think to come back for some reason sometimes. So always do that, okay? And we talked about that once. And then this is up. This is a rather nice early 19th century famille rose platter with a person being carted along in an old-fashioned, like a wheelchair, visiting. The lady's bringing out some fruit for her, something to freshen her up. And lastly, we're going to look at this. This is I think, a rather good early 19th century piece of red Peking glass. A couple of people think it might be 18th century. It's a nice looking piece. Has a small chip here on the foot, which is pretty typical of these, but nice looking bottom on it. And it's up to $211. It closes on Saturday. Okay. But as I say often, I said, when you come through and you see things, leave a bid, put it on your watch list, and that way you don't lose track, or come back and check the newsletter later in the week. All right, to see if there's something else on there that you meant to do something with and you forgot. All right, it's easy to forget. It's easy to forget during the week. I understand. All right, well, that's it for the week. And as I mentioned before, we did do the newsletter. The video for the Hong Kong sales. Talked a little bit about. It's a little bit long because there's so much there. My God, you could do 4 hours of videos on that. I could really put some people to sleep with that. All right. So thanks so much for watching. And remember, if you don't subscribe here, please do. We do a video every week. And come over to Bidamount.com and sign up for the newsletter for the eBay, weekly eBay things that we find. And join up with the forum. I think we're up to about 800 people in that forum now. It's pretty good. All right. Thanks so much for visiting. And see you all next time. All right. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.